Today, an interesting discussion in a law enforcement use of force on how we see, perceive, decide, and act. Hi everyone, welcome to today's research-informed badge cam lesson here at Active Self-Protection. I'm your host, John Correa.
I'm your co-host, Mike Williver. Today's video comes to us from Houston, Texas.
MagTech is the only freedom seed I use on the range. I personally have over 100,000 rounds downrange of MagTech, and it's unbelievably reliable, very accurate, and a great value. Pick some up for your next range trip wherever you shop for range supplies.
Officers have responded to a 911 call from a woman who has said that a man has broken into her home, invaded her home, and hit her multiple times with a gun and then left. So she called it in. Officers have come in and gotten a description of that man. You're going to hear the officer whose badge cam that we are watching right now say that he sees the suspect. So a man matching the description that she has just given him of the man that invaded her home and hit her with a gun. He's going to encounter that. We have multiple badge cams here. Let's listen in.
1313, I need units back here. I think I got eyes on the suspect. Back at the original location. Hey! Come here! Come here! Police department! Police department! Let me see your fucking ass! I got taser! Let me see your ass, you're gonna get tased! He has a gun! He has a gun! Let me see your fucking ass! He has a gun! Suspect has a gun! All right, guys.
We got Brook Street to south,
You good?
Yeah. Hands!
Hold there, shots fired. One suspect, GSW to the head.
Now, this sergeant is the one who actually shot our perp. He's actually not on the same call. He's on a separate call around the block doing some other police work, but he's going to hear that they're running his way and going to pause and then get engaged and invested himself. We have audio of his badge cam. Let's listen in.
Down there.
Show me your hands now! Now! Show me your hands! Show me your hands now!
Shots fired. Clear shot. GSW to the head. Shots fired. 5 shots fired.
Hey, let's get units out of here. Another sergeant, 1307. I'm the one that shot.
Well, they did some CPR on this guy. CPR is not going to help somebody who is shot in the face, which is where this guy was shot. He did not make it in any capacity. He was what we would call DRT. And thankfully, no one else was hurt. Again, he pistol whipped a woman in her apartment before this. It's an interesting one with a bunch of analysis for us to do. Thankfully, he was the only one harmed here, and he took the "there's not a sidewalk here" temperature challenge. We finally got a restock in the web shop for the ASP t-shirts. It has the ASP logo on it that says good, sane, sober, moral, and prudent repeated on it. These are super cool in lots of different colors. Head to the web store and pick one up, would you? Helps us kind of run the business here and bring you these lessons every day. Man, I really think the whole beginning here, watching the first officer, Mike, this is just good old-fashioned, old-school gumshoe police work. He's got a subject description, sees that guy. Okay, I'm going to go make contact with that guy. Hey, you, come here. And of course, the guy plays stupid. Who? What? Like, you don't know who the heck that is. And he even identifies himself as police, tells him to come back. Then the guy runs off. And how many times have we said this, Mike, to anybody who's a felon who is watching our videos? If you do not grab the gun into your hand, your chances of getting shot go down significantly.
These are facts, ladies. I want to take a little bit of umbrage with whoever does the subtitles, because they literally wrote "who dat" underneath the suspect talking, which I think is a little disrespectful. Listen, if you're a bad guy running away from the police, look, run all you want, right? You only go to jail tired. However, you're much better off if you got a gun on you, leave it where it is. Don't draw it. Don't try to toss it. Don't try to yeet it, because once that gun's in your hand, the police will perceive you accurately as a potential deadly threat, and they will act appropriately, as we have seen time and time and time again.
And remember, officers, for our police officers, this is different than private citizens, but rule number one of Zombieland, cardio, very important for officers, because you got to be able to stay in your right mind after this, 400-500 meter sprint. And I want our private citizens to recognize this as well. You might be like, well, I can run a quarter mile. I can run a half mile. Can you do that in boots and a uniform with a 30-pound vest on? That's a vastly different problem. And I think sometimes we underestimate that, Mike.
Yeah, I'll tell you, if you're not training like you fight as a law enforcement officer, you're doing yourself a grave disservice. So what do I mean by that? I mean, you need to do some running, some working out with a ruck or something heavy to simulate what you're going to be doing on the job. You also need to be training DT, defensive tactics, and firearms in your full gear, whatever you wear out in the field, so that you're used to that. I don't miss running with a duty vest on and a duty belt and everything jangling and clangling around. Understand that this is about as dangerous as it gets for law enforcement. A foot pursuit with a known suspect who we know is armed, and it's dark. At any moment, he can stop, level his feet, and take a shot the minute you come around a corner. So the whole time this is going on, not only are you smoked from the running and the adrenaline pumping through your veins, but you're thinking, I'm going to get shot at any moment, and I'm not going to see it coming. So I think this sergeant's actions were justified. It's hard to say in one place, by the way, when this is going on. It's hard to sit tight and go, oh, he's coming to me, I'm going to wait. But that's what he did.
He did a really good job here. And Sergeant, frontline supervisor, a lot of these guys will sit in their truck and let their officers do their job. He got involved, and kudos to him for that. Now let's talk about perceptions here, because remember, the officers who are giving chase have put out, hey, we have a suspect who is running. He's armed with a gun. And so he's heard that. But recognize, in order to justify a use of deadly force, you have to yourself perceive the threat of death or great bodily injury. Here we have a suspect in a felony who is running from police, armed with a gun. Now, of course, the badge cam doesn't show what the officer sees, what the sergeant sees. It cannot do that. But what we can see, and I'll show it to you here in a minute, is this guy, the officer says, show me your hands. And I think that is so important. And it's a good reminder to officers that you might want to look at his face, or you might want to look center mass where you want your dot to point, but really you need to look at his hands to see where the threat's coming from, Mike.
Yeah, that's the problem with having your gun up right in front of your eye line during a situation like this, is you can't see what the hands are doing or anything going on around the midsection or what they're reaching for. And I can't tell honestly if his gun's up at this point all the way or not, but bear that in mind. If you're giving commands and you can't see what the suspect's hands are doing, you're at a disadvantage. And John, Neil, all those guys, Chris, Kerry will tell you, going from a low ready to up where you can shoot is splits. It's hundredths of a second to get from one to the other and get effective fire on target. Also remember, this is not about this sergeant necessarily, but while we're on the topic, if you have a negligent discharge when you're aimed in at someone and they didn't need to be shot, your qualified immunity is out the window. Supreme Court said so a few years back, so just bear that in mind as well.
Yep. Also, this is a benefit of a pistol-mounted optic, because when you properly understand a pistol-mounted optic, you don't look at the dot. You are looking through your pistol-mounted optic and keeping your eyes on the target, and that lets you have a broader perspective. Usually both eyes open is what we recommend, so it lets you see more clearly. Now watch what goes down here. I'm going to slow it down and zoom it in for you so you can see how this sergeant makes his decisions. Is that I didn't see this at first, is that you can clearly see in his hand now. Now it was very difficult to see and even zoomed in, but you can see right here that the glint of the light from the pursuing officers on his pistol, and that is what our sergeant almost certainly saw, which caused him to shoot. Again, this guy running his way with a gun in his hand, fleeing from a felony, and with the gun in his hand. And would a reasonable officer, a reasonable person, believe that they are at risk of death from this totality of circumstances? I believe the answer to that is yes. So how far is our guy here? Man, it's hard to tell with the fisheye lens, but I'm going to guess when the shot breaks somewhere, maybe 8 yards, give or take. Could be 9, could be 10, even that matter. Could be 6 or 7. But a shot to the face. If deadly force is authorized, then deadly force is authorized, and you need to get that guy stopped right now. I do think it was a pretty good test of marksmanship for him to get a hit like that, though, Mike.
Yeah, if you look at his grip throughout, it's really stellar. This guy obviously knows what he's doing. He obviously trains. He probably dry fires like a maniac because he seemed very confident in his ability to make this shot. Now, some folks might be asking, well, he didn't have the gun pointed right at him at the time. Was it okay to shoot? The answer is yes. This guy's already been told 38 times by the pursuing officers to drop the gun, to give up, to stop doing what he's doing. The guy's not coming towards you with a gun in his hand. He's refusing to drop it. If you go back to that video a few weeks ago, I can't remember what it was out of, but where the guy is not showing his right hand and pops that hand out of his pocket and aims the gun. And John, what was that time? It was like point something of a second that it took that guy to get that shot off, right?
Yeah, it was a quarter of a second from when he started moving his hand to when the shot broke. So the officer was, he was taking rounds at that point. Thankfully, the guy missed and the officer was able to get his gun out very, very quickly. But those human performance factors, those times that it takes for things to happen, including any response, are why this officer, this sergeant, couldn't wait. His life was at risk in that moment. A guy, running at the cops with a gun in his hand. Any good, sane, sober, moral, prudent person would know better. And again, this guy has just pistol whipped somebody after breaking into their home with that gun. So I'm not crying him a river. I do know some people are going to have a hard time with the fact that it took them a good long time. And if you go watch the original, you can see them eventually, start CPR on this guy. This is something that a lot of cops aren't going to tell you, and they don't want to talk about it like this, but goodness sakes, the guy was shot in the face. So a lot of times when you see these kinds of things, you watched how he fell, you come up on the guy and you realize he's not breathing and there's nothing I'm going to do for this. And the thing that they won't tell you a lot is that a lot of times CPR is performative for the people standing around and watching because we know he ain't going to make it.
Yeah, can confirm. Unfortunately, I rolled up on scenes with people who've just been shot in the face, and you're either going to live or you're not. The paramedics can't do a whole lot. The cops certainly can't do very much at all as far as treating that sort of a wound. It's going to be a surgeon, and a very, very highly paid surgeon, to try to figure all that out inside of your head. I'm going to let you know a little secret inside baseball. John and I weren't sure how we felt about this at the first time we watched it through. And we both thought about it and gave it some time to go, no, this sergeant had to do what he did. He was backed into a corner and had no choice. Had that guy just dropped the gun as he was told, he'd still be walking around today on his way to Bible study or whatever. Instead, he put the quarter in the jukebox. He chose to approach a law enforcement officer at a running pace with a gun in his hand, and he paid the price, unfortunately. But this officer, the sergeant, covered his ass.